Well, Michael Franti, thank you so much for joining us for the first cut here on WFPK. It's great to have you. And I understand that we are talking to you in Bali.
Yeah. So I own a little boutique yoga hotel here. And when the pandemic started, my wife and I were leading a yoga and music retreat. And we were just about to go out on tour. And then they shut the airport down here. So technically, we're stranded on a tropical island. We're like, this is as close to Gilligan as I get. Like everybody, it's been a time, we've gone through our highs and lows and ups and downs and concern about the world and concern about all the social issues that we see taking place everywhere. But it's also been a time when our family has really, been forced to really connect. And it's been a really beautiful thing just to, when you're in a room with somebody for a long time, it's like, whatever issues that are there, they come to the surface eventually. So my wife and I joke. Yeah, we joked the other day. In the last 7 months, we've done 7 years of therapy together. So.
Well, you're lucky you were able to at least, be quarantined together, and that, you weren't there and she was in San Francisco or wherever home is. Yeah. And that would have been tough.
That would have been horrible.
Yes, would have been. So, Michael, we're going to ask you just a fun set of questions, find out a little bit more about you in this way. And the first question is, what was the first record you fell in love with?
Well, the first record that I ever bought was Earth, Wind and Fire's Greatest Hits. And what happened was I was in 7th grade and I won a dance contest at school. And I don't know how I won a dance contest because I'm not that good of a dancer. But I won the contest and I got a $5 gift certificate for this record store. So I go down to the record store on my bike, riding across town. And I get there and find this cassette. And it was like a double cassette, and I bring it to the counter. And it was it was like $4.95 or something for this cassette, but with tax, it came out to be like $5.41 or something. And all I had was a $5 gift certificate. So I was like, oh man. And I was like, can I like come back or something? And they're like, yeah, you can come back, but you got to like leave the cassette here, bro. And so I had to ride all the way across town, get the 41 cents out of the couch or whatever, come back. But I mean, I wore that cassette out. I listened to it hundreds of times over and over, and was fascinated by reading the lyrics. Earth, Wind and Fire is this incredible group because they're known for this really upbeat party, soul, funk, but their lyrics are also really insightful. And within the songs, there was talk about meditation, and there's talk about, the issues of the world that were taking place, and about the power of love to overcome, and the power of human connection. And it really just opened my heart lyrically, but then also just the sound of that record. There's horns, there's drums, there's bass, there's electronic instruments. And then there's those incredible Earth, Wind and Fire harmonies that were just so beautiful to sort of pick out. And I remember being a kid in church, and my mom taught organ in the church, or she played organ in church. She taught the choir. And so I'd go to choir practice as a kid, but I never knew that everybody was singing a different part on purpose. It was just kind of like, oh, everybody just, some people got low voice, some people got a high voice, they got to sing, But when I heard Earth, Wind and Fire's music, I could start to pick out like, oh, this person's singing like a different note than the other person. And in headphones, you could really hear that. So yeah, that was a big record for me.
Did somebody recommend that album to you, or did you just, because it was the price you bought it? Or?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. But my brother, I forget what year it was, but it was like, 79, 80 around there. But my brother had all the earlier Earth, Wind and Fire albums. So this was like their greatest hits, so there were 4 or 5 albums into their career. So he had other records that I really liked. And so that's how I heard about them.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good start. What was the first song you learned on an instrument?
Well, man, I when I was in 5th grade, I took trombone lessons at school. And the first song I learned was, I can't even remember what it was called, but it had probably had like 3 notes. I couldn't play any of them very well. And it probably sounded terrible. I mean, I probably drove my family nuts, and my family loved music. The ironic thing is that there was 5 of us kids in the house, and my mom and dad, and my mom played piano and organ in the church. My 2 sisters played violin and viola. I had one brother who was like a prodigy, could play like every instrument. And then I had a younger brother who played saxophone. And I loved to play basketball. I was like the odd guy out. I took one piano lesson, and the piano teacher smelled like old lady perfume. And I told my mom when I'm never going back. I was probably like 7 years old. I was scared of her. I told my mom I was never going, and I regret it to this day, never having learned. So my first experience in music was as a vocalist and as a writer who wrote poetry and wrote about things that were in my heart that were either basically that were breaking my heart, making me angry or making me feel sad or making me feel love or helping me to cope with this alcoholic household that I was brought up in. And so I would say my first instrument was really my voice. And it wasn't until I was already 15 years into making records and touring, I had used electronic instruments, drum machines and samplers and mixing desks, and I knew how to do all that stuff. But after about 15 years of playing music, I was like, I want to be able to pick up an instrument and play on the street. So I bought a guitar and I started teaching myself guitar, and now it's like that's the thing. I mean, here I am in my room and there's 3 guitars like surrounding my bed. So
Right.
yeah.
What was the first song you wrote?
Well, the first song I wrote was I remember when I was just a kid. I was staying home. I was sick, and I was staying home. I must have been like 9 years old or something like that, and they had reruns of the Andy Griffith Show on during the daytime. And so I wrote a song about Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show because he had written a song on the show. It was like, oh my darling, oh my darling. It was like that. It was a take on that.
Yeah.
And Barney Fife had written a version about himself, and then Andy Griffith wrote a version about it that was making fun of Barney Fife. So I kind of like made my own version up of that. I don't remember how it went at all, but that was the first time I remember thinking like, oh man, I could like write a song. Here's how you do it. You write some words and there's a melody and you put it together. And then when I was in high school, I had a band. It's kind of like a ska sort of, punk rock looking, but more like ska reggae sounding band. And I started writing songs then. And some of them were just like party songs about, being in high school, but some of them were songs about being, just kind of stuck in this town that I grew up in and not really feeling like I fit in with anybody there.
What town was that?
I was Davis, California, which is in the Central Valley of California, and there's a university there, but everything around it is like cows. it's like it's the agricultural part of California, and then there's a university there it used to be like UC Davis A&M. It was like agricultural, mechanical, sort of farming school. But over the years, by the time that I was there, it had become like, a regular old accredited, state university. And that brought in a lot of influence. So even though I was in this small town, there was like foreign students, there was people who came to teach there. There was a lot of thinking that went on. And so for us kids who grew up around the school, like we would go to concerts there. I'm talking about when we were in high school, even though we weren't attending the university, we could go to concerts. We could listen to KDVS, which is an incredible radio station, and played all kinds of music. And I remember we would go to the bowling alley there, which was downstairs in the sort of campus union. And then that's where the radio station was. And they had this box that they leave outside the door that was all the 7 inches that they weren't playing anymore. There was like things that were, oh, we tried this one, we didn't really like it. The records labels would send them, and then they would just give these, promotional singles away. And I remember going through there, and it was, to us kids, it was like a gold mine. Like we'd get these singles, and then we'd go home and we'd play them, and like, oh, what's this one? This one. And my favorite one that I remember getting was Kraftwerk's Trans Europe Express, which was the first really like big hit electronic music song. And I remember just playing that record over and over again, and just really tripping off the instrumentation of it. But it was this German group, and they sang in English but with this German accent, and then also getting reggae records there that I had never heard reggae music before, and I started listening to reggae at that time. And then we went and I saw in one year I saw the Police at the in a small venue there. I saw Devo, and I saw this artist called Linton Kwesi Johnson, who was a reggae artist from England. And Linton Kwesi Johnson came out on stage, and he read this incredible poem. It was called Sonny's Letter, and it was about a kid who was walking home with his brother from school, and they get confronted by the police, and they get in this fight, and this guy accidentally kills a police officer, and he's writing a letter home to his mom from prison saying, "I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to do this, but it just happened." And he's apologizing, and he's feeling all this remorse. And then after he reads this poem, the band comes in behind him and kicks in, and he does the same poem with this incredible reggae music behind him. And my mouth just hit the floor, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to take like stories that are really meaningful and that have strong messages and emotion in them, and then put them to music in a way that can help people understand, what's going on. And a few years ago, I got a photo. A fan gave me a photo, and it's me at this concert in this little coffee house, probably like 130 people in the room, in this coffee house watching the show, and I'm in the back, and there's my little head. I'm 6'6", so my head is like popping up over everybody else's head. And that was it. That was like the moment that I decided kind of that I wanted to be a musician.
Wow. Wow, what a story. What was the name of the ska band, your first band that you played in?
It was called the Casualties, but it was Casual Tease.
Oh, okay.
Not a great name.
Did any of the guys in your band, did you all end up, did you remain friends, or play music now or anything like that? Or?
I don't really know if any of them play music at this point, but our drummer, especially Rusi Gustafson, was a really accomplished drummer. He was the one guy in the band who actually knew how to play music, and he was just, a great guy, just a great artist, great person. And I'm guessing of all the people in the band, apart from me, he's probably the one who's still doing it musically.
What's the first Heartache song you really connected with?
Man, there's so many. It's hard to think of what the first one was.
It could also be the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. I remember Gino Vanelli. I just want to stop and tell you what I think about you, babe. I just want, I just remember the first, I love, as a songwriter, great first lines of a song. So on the first line of that song is, I remember all those nights in Montreal, hit the sweetest thoughts of you and me. And I was like, that just seems so far away from me as a kid. Like, I was hearing that song on the radio, and like Montreal just seemed like this really exotic place to me for some reason. And I was just thinking like, oh, it's cold up there, and this night in Montreal, and just, and so it set out this picture for me, but it just was a song that felt like longing to me, and I still love songs like that today, because for me, music has been my healer. And what I mean through that is, throughout the darkest moments of my life, music has been the thing that's been there for me to really make me feel the emotions that are locked inside. So whatever it is, whether it's joy or whether it's, sadness or whether it's mourning, but for me, most of the time it's been loneliness and making me feel that I'm not the only person in the world in those moments when I put my headphones on or when I put the stereo on and, just lay down on the floor in my room and I would read through lyrics and feel like, man, I'm not the only person. And as I mentioned before, I grew up in an alcoholic household. So there'd be nights when like my parents would be fighting or something would be going on. And I would just be in my room feeling kind of alone. And music would be the thing that just made me feel this sense like, not that the world was perfect, but that there was other people in the world who felt the way I did.
Yeah, connected, sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be a heartache song you would go to now?
I really love Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. I really love the music of it because in addition to it being this, a song about love and just aching love, it's also a song that's aggressive. Like musically, it's probably like 150 beats per minute. It's really got this really fast thing, but there's this certain melancholy in the bass, the do 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 do. I just love that melody, and knowing now what I know about the band and the journey that all of them took, and I can feel the angst in it and the love in it and the longing in it, but also it makes me dance, it makes me move, and that is also healing for me.
What record are you listening to now that you really love?
Right now, I don't really listen to records as much as I listen to playlists. So, I'll put on playlists and then it's like, oh man, what is this song? And I'm Shazamming songs, and it's like I got all these gadgets and gizmos going on at the same time. But my favorite group at the moment is called Sati Soul, SAUTI SOL, and they're from Kenya. And I came across their music when I was on a trip. We were performing in East Africa last year, and after the trip, my wife and our 5-month-old baby, we traveled around Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda for about 3 weeks. And I came across their music there, and they have this song called Susanna, which is just such a great blend of like traditional African harmonies, but with really super incredible pop sensibilities and really great lyrics. And it's a song about coming back home, telling this woman like, you can come back home. And it's not necessarily like literally come back home. It's like come back from all the trappings of consumerism. And you don't have to be, buying all these expensive things in order to be you or to be loved. And it's just got this really beautiful sentiment, but the music to it is so, so joyful. And it really kind of takes me back to the first time that I heard like Paul Simon's Graceland and hearing like Ladysmith Black Mombasa and hearing those incredible South African rhythms that sounded so fresh and so exciting. But today there's like this whole new generation of young people in Africa who are bringing like pop elements into the music. And it's just great to see the way that, as I was talking about before, like Spotify, iTunes, all these things have internationalized music. So it doesn't matter where you grow up, you can listen to music from the States or Australia or Asia or Africa, Jamaica, wherever it is on the planet, South America. And now people are blending all these different styles and rhythms. And we hear the music of Jamaican dance hall in almost every pop record that's out on the radio right now. And we feel the same connections in reggaeton that are now crossing over into even country music and country songs. And so it's just I think it's like a really vibrant time for there to be music blending.
You write so many uplifting songs, Michael. It seems to be kind of your thing. I mean, I've been to your shows and it's just this vibration that gets going that's just so high. And So much fun. But what would be a song that you would go to if you needed to lift your own spirits? Would it be something that you wrote, or would it be a particular song that just changes your whole,
Yeah.
attitude?
I mean, I love listening to my own music when I'm recording it. And when I'm starting to record a song, I'll listen to it, 20 or 30 times and just kind of like part of it is like analyzing it, but also I don't put out music I don't like. Like if I don't like it, I don't put it out. And so if it's something I wouldn't listen to, why would anybody else listen to it? Is my thinking on it. So I do listen to my own records. But that being said, when I'm going to something that helps me get through my most challenging times, I love listening to U2. I find their music to be incredibly inspiring, and I connect with the values in their music. When I was in my third band, but second kind of, touring band, the Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy, we made this song called Television, the Drug of the Nation. And we were on Island Records at the time. And Chris Blackwell, the owner of Island Records, he played our song for Bono, and they were so excited about the song and the video that they wanted to use the video to open up their Zoo TV tour. So it was the first tour that ever went out on the road that had the giant video walls on it. And so they showed our song Television, the Drug of the Nation on these video screens. And then they walked out to start their show. And so they invited us to be the support act on the tour. And it was the album Achtung Baby, which has, the incredible song One, which is one of the songs that still really moves my heart. And we did the first leg of that tour. And the first day at soundcheck, I was so excited to go check out their soundcheck. So I went out and watched them. And they were playing this song over and over again to try to learn it. And Bono was trying to get the guitar parts. And they had paper on the floor to learn the words. And it was One. It was the song One. And so I got to see the sound check where they played it before they played it the first night live in concert. And during that tour, their music really connected with me because I'd been a fan, like I kind of, I liked their songs, and there was a few records that I had and stuff. But the music I wasn't like a super fan. It wasn't like I knew members of the band or anything. In fact, after the first week of the tour, Bono came up to me one time. He's like, "Michael, can I have a quiet word with you?" And I was like, "Sure, what's up?" And he goes, "Well, there's just this one thing." And I go, "What is?" He goes, "My guitar player." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "His name is The Edge, not Ed." So for the first week, I was like, "Yo, Ed, I like that hat. Yo, Ed, digging them shoes. Yo, Ed, nice guitar solo." So, but but I saw the way that melody inspired people on their tour. So like there'd be songs where Bono would just, like we were in Italy one time, and he started singing this song. He just held the mic up to the audience, and the whole crowd just started singing the melody. And I don't even think majority of the people knew what the words were. It was just the power of the melody. And when my father died, I mentioned his alcoholism, but when he died 4 years before he passed away, he'd had a stroke. And when he had a stroke, it was like being sick actually made him well. And he blossomed into this really, really beautiful, loving, kind person. He made amends to everyone in his life he had ever hurt, including me. And it was like he just came out, he just butterflied. And so when my father died, I was driving down the road and I had a UTCD in, and the song "The Sweetest Thing" came on. And for whatever reason, I just broke down and started crying. I had to pull the car over. I was like crying so intensely. And I just listened to the song, over and over again, 6 or 7 times, and just sat there and cried till I couldn't cry anymore. And then every day after that, I would go, I'd be in my studio and be working, and then something would come, some memory of my dad would come up, and I'd have to just stop. I'd put that song on, I'd turn it up really loud. I'd get on my yoga mat and just practice yoga and stretch out, and again, just cry and weep. And it really healed me. And last summer, I was invited to play at an event that was honoring Adam Clayton, their bass player. And so I got to tell Bono the story of this, about how that song had healed me. And it was just really nice, a full circle for me, because people say that to me a lot, like my song means this. It was there for when my kid was born, or we fell in love at your concert or something like that. But it just meant so much to me to be able to share that with him and the other guys in the band.
That's a great story, Michael. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. Great stories. And yeah, I want to check out that band, Sati Soul.
Sati Soul. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on The First Cut, and good luck to you and your family as you spend time in a beautiful tropical island.
Thanks. And I want to give just a shout out to everybody out there over the holidays. This has been an incredibly challenging year and stressful year, a painful year, but I think it's like the best way to describe it for me is that it's been an important year. It's been a time when all of us have really had this opportunity to look inside in ways we haven't before and say, how are we showing up for the world right now? And all of the pains of the world are coming to the surface right now. And I just feel like it's a time of really important healing. And that's what the holidays are really all about for me, is people getting together to do that healing. So for everybody's out there, I want to send them that kind of love.
Thank you, Michael. Same to you too.
Right on.
All right. Have a good rest of your evening.
All right. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.